Well, hello, boys and girls. Good morning, or maybe good afternoon, or good evening, at whatever time you're doing the lesson. I hope that you are having a great day. And of course, we are going to do science, the same thing that we always do when we are together. Our learning target is the same as the previous lesson. Let's review it again today. So I can research, formulate questions, and use new and existing information to explain how farming can affect the land and the water. Last lesson, we looked at what a farm is and why we have to grow so much food, right? 7 billion humans on our planet Earth. So we need a lot of food because that's how we get our energy, right? From the plants and other animals. That's how we get the energy from the sun, because we cannot just eat sunlight. So we need a lot of food. We need a lot of energy, because there are a lot of humans, right? But to do that, we have to farm. And there are huge farms all over the world, bringing the food to the supermarket that then we bring to our homes. And we want to find out how farming affects the land and the water on our planet. So to get right into the topic today, I'd like you to please click on the video that says planting and harvesting video. Planting and harvesting. So it is a video with this farmer, okay? He will give us information about what farming is, all right? So as you watch the video, I want you to write some notes in your notebook about things that you learn about farming from this gentleman that owns a farm, okay? So write things that you learn about farming in your notebooks. So what do you think? I personally learned a lot about asparagus and strawberries. I didn't know how they harvested asparagus. I like it, and my wife loves it, but I didn't know much about it. So I hope that you learn many things about farming, and specifically about those crops that the farmer talked about. Now, what I want you to do next is think about, now that you know a lot about farming, think about some of the problems, some of the difficulties, some of the, well, I guess problem is a word. Some of the problems that farmers might face, okay? As a farmer, okay? Maybe you can think, if I were a farmer, what kind of problems would I face in my farm? What kind of problems would I encounter in my farm? And make a list of maybe 5 or 6 things that you can think of based on the information that you have. Think about what are some problems that a farmer might encounter, okay, in his farm or her farm, okay, related to the seeds, the plants, how they grow, how they need to be kept, what you have to do to them. So what might be some problems that a farmer might face? Go ahead and make a list in your notebooks. Well, I cannot see what problems you wrote, right? But I can imagine. So what, if you think about plants in your garden at your house, okay? What are some problems that a farmer might face? Well, one of the things that came to my mind right away was bugs, right? How do they get rid of bugs? Because bugs love to eat leaves, and they love to eat sometimes flowers and fruit. So how do you deal with those bugs when you have acres and acres and acres and acres of plants? What do you do when bugs are eating your plants? What do you do? Another problem that I thought might be, what if the plants are not growing fast enough, or what if they are not growing well enough? What do you do to help the plants grow better? That was another problem that I thought a farmer might face. And something else that I thought was, how about weeds? When weeds take over the good plants that the farmer wants to grow, they might prevent the health and the good growth of the plants. So that's another problem they might face. Maybe also lack of water. How do they get the water if it's not raining? Do you think of any other things? Any other problems that farmers might face? I wish that that you could share with me, but you can share with other students in your classroom. You could share with other students in your Zoom room, or maybe with somebody at home. So now we are actually going to look at two videos, okay, that actually show us and discuss the problem of pests, okay, bugs, the problem of pests in a farm. And it's going to give us a list of different, pests. That's what we call them. That's what farmers call them, that they have to deal with in a farm. Before we watch the video, there is an article that I want you to read about 7 destructive pests, okay? Pests, meaning all those bugs that like to eat the plants in a farm. So the 7 destructive pests. So open that document and it should look like this. So the article looks like that, okay? I want you to read, and I want you to, if you know how to highlight in your Word docs, you can do that. You can also take notes in your notebook. What are those pests? You can write the names of those pests that really bother farmers because they try to eat the farmers' plants, okay? So had you realized that farmers had to deal with so many pests? Boy, they must be really bothered. And they're going to have to find a way to get rid of them. But anyway, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. So can you remember the type of pests? Locusts, Japanese beetles, Mormon crickets, true bugs, corn, rootworm, Colorado potato beetle, stink bugs, all of those. Big problem for farmers. Big problem for farmers. This video about white flies in Georgia, okay? It is a farmer talking about this pest of white flies in his farm in Georgia. So the video looks like this.
Small in size, white flies have become a big problem for producers all around the state. It's a pest they've always been on the lookout for. So
just pause the lesson and watch that video, okay? And as always, take notes and figure out some questions, like how could you possibly deal with this type of pest, with these bugs in a farm? You don't want them there. So did you know that farmers had those problems? And that the main problem for them was bugs, pests? Did you know that? I mean, we just eat the food. We buy it at the supermarket, or our parents buy it at the supermarket. And we have a nice meal and we say, thank you, Dad, thank you, Mom. And we don't know that that food came from farms and that the farmers were really having some difficulties with bugs. Did you ever think about that? So now every time that you eat vegetables, now you might be thinking, oh my goodness, the farmer was really battling those bugs. Now I want you to do something, okay? So say that you're a farmer, you have a lot of pests, a lot of bugs in your farm, and you have to deal with them. So what would you do? How would you get rid of those bugs in your farms? So make a list of possible solutions, and maybe you can ask somebody at your house, or you can discuss it with another student in class, or you can discuss it with another person in your Zoom room, in your breakout room. So how would you deal? How do you think that farmers deal with pests? Or if you were a farmer, how would you deal with them? You might say, well, I just take a little fly swapper and I'll just swap every single one of them. But can you do that with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres full of plants? So what would you do? What do you think that farmers do to deal with that bug or pest problem. So take a few minutes, pause the lesson, and write a few ideas of how do you deal with those bugs. So do you come up with any solutions? I mean, I don't know what they are, but I'm sure you have a list, and I don't want to give you any clues because next lesson we are going to be really concentrating on those, on that question. How do farmers deal with those pests? How do they deal with that? That's a pretty difficult problem, huh? Now, we still haven't really completely, right, gotten to the learning target, which is, what was the learning target? What was the learning target? Do you remember? What was the learning target? I can research, formulate questions, and use new and existing information to explain how farming can affect the land and the water. And we still haven't gotten there. We know what farms are, we know that we need a lot of food, we know that farmers deal with problems, but we still don't know how farming affects the land and the water. And that's going to be next lesson. But before we finish this lesson, there is something that I want you to do. So now I want you to explain very simply, okay, to a kindergartner. So pretend that you're writing for a kindergartner and in your notebook, because you have to use very simple words. You cannot use fancy words. You have to really explain it well with a lot of detail, okay? Explain to a younger student the problems that farmers face, okay? Why are pests a problem? Why are bugs a problem for farmers? And why do farmers dislike them so much, okay? So explain to a kindergartner the problem that farmers have of dealing with bugs and why do they dislike them so much. All right? All right, I hope that you wrote a lot and that you had a really good explanation for that kindergartner. And I promise you, we are going to answer, we're going to get to that learning target next lesson, okay? I promise you that we're going to get to that learning target, which is that you can explain how farming can affect the land and the water, okay? Because we are trying to figure out how humans, through farming, affect the land and the water. But now we know a lot about farming, and we are getting ready to get to that learning target. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.